China has infiltrated America. Espionage is as old as civilization. As long as there were leaders with secrets and armies on the march, the opponents wanted to know what they were thinking and where they were going. Therefore, spies are needed. And it is not surprising that the Chinese are as good at espionage as anyone else, and their main target is the United States. What might be surprising is the scope of their success and the large numbers of operators, influencers, sleepers, and other types of spy that have already infiltrated critical US institutions. Of course, a lot of spying nowadays includes surveillance of phone calls, digital message traffic, online financial transactions, facial recognition software, satellite surveillance, and other electronic commerce. But the old-fashioned ways of human spies infiltrating organizations, gaining trust, and stealing secrets never disappeared. In fact, this type of human intelligence seems to be experiencing a renaissance. The Chinese Communist Party members who have promised to fight for communism and be loyal to the party all my life work hard at companies like Boeing, Pfizer, and Qualcomm, political strongholds like the US State Department and Capitol Hill. Other spies are operating secretly. A woman named Fang Feng, a young and attractive Chinese spy, trying to build a close relationship with Congressman Eric Swalwell, a member of the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee, who regularly receives secret briefings. This is a classical intelligence technique known as the honey trap. Swalwell fell in love with it. Somehow Fang fled to China before being turned into a double agent, or simply arrested by the FBI. There is no information yet about who informed him, but Swalwell is suspected she. Chinese intelligence services have also infiltrated the academy using Confucius Institute's cultural exchange facilities that are really home to spies and luxury research grants. Oftentimes, Americans fall into the trap of China's espionage efforts, either because they are naive or because they are greedy for the money China spreads. US targets ignore the damage done to America. Until things change, America's technological and strategic direction will diminish due to China's theft of secrets and the compromise of elite decision makers. Let's hope this will change, but don't hold your breath. Will the US intelligence community handle the Chinese threat? There is good news and bad news. The good news is that the US intelligence community, especially the CIA, seems to have woken up to the fact that the world is changing. The bad news is that it still looks full of the same undercover bureaucrats, like the same deal guys I've seen in my years at the agency. The culture of privacy is a big problem. 40 years ago, secrets were valuable, and open source information was not particularly useful beyond just following the news. Information was a scarce resource, but that world has changed. The flow of information today is like a fire hose. There is almost more than you can handle. The scarce resource today is not knowledge, analytical skill. Not much happens behind closed doors that you cannot find or extract from open sources. When I told this to CIA officials 14 years ago, I was mostly brushed off or ignored. So at least now they realize I'm right. The bad news is that the CIA still filters information with ideological flashers. Carmen Medina, a former CIA Deputy Director of Intelligence, said the fraudulent 2020 presidential election was the safest elections in the history. As the abundant video, eyewitnesses, and forensic evidence show, can you trust top US intelligence officials suspicious? While the CIA does do justice to open source knowledge, about 20 years too late, it still confuses analysis with the triumph of ideology over cold, harsh, analytical technique. The ground crew is very good, junior ranks are committed to their jobs, and they do them well. The problem is often the senior ranks who look at political considerations. This does not bode well for America's ability to stand up to China in the new administration. Further economic hardship is a predictable outcome for the United States. Many politicians have been sounding alarms about the Chinese Communist Party's infiltration into the United States. Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe, in a recent opinion piece in the Wall Street Journal, said that the People's Republic of China poses the greatest threat to America today, and the greatest threat to democracy and freedom worldwide since World War II. In a recent interview with Newsmax, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called the Chinese Communist Party the greatest threat to security of American people and indeed the free world. Republicans in the House Committee on Oversight and Reform have sent a letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray asking him to investigate China's use of spies or covert agents to infiltrate America's most sacred educational and governmental institutions. So, how bad is the CCP's infiltration into our country? Pretty bad, but in some ways there is hope if we dedicate ourselves to fighting back. Our ruling class House Republicans have written to Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, calling for her to remove Rep. Eric Swalwell from the House Permanent Select Committee on the Intelligence. The letter accuses Swalwell of withholding information from the House Intelligence Committee regarding an ongoing Chinese espionage operation targeted at him and his own colleagues. This follows a report from Axios stating that a Chinese spy, who also allegedly had sexual relations with at least 2 Midwestern mayors, targeted Swalwell and several other San Francisco politicians. People in China are even gloating about how much they have infiltrated our ruling class. Di Dongsheng, the vice dean of the School of International Relations at Renmin University, boasted in a recent lecture that the Chinese Communist Party has people at the top of American core inner circle of power and influence, and that for the past 30 years, 40 years, we have been utilizing the core power of the United States. They also seemed to imply that Hunter Biden was compromised as well. Trump has been saying that Biden's son has some sort of global foundation. Have you noticed that? Who helped Hunter build the foundations? Got it? There are a lot of deals inside all this. This is timely, given that the Department of Justice is currently subpoenaing Hunter Biden for, among other things, documents relating to his business dealings in China. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.